Hello, and welcome to the Global Footballer Podcast with Monish and Deepak. So today we are going to discuss about the games from the English Premier League over the last weekend. And to start off with, we've got a North London derby, Monish. Really good game. I completely enjoyed it. Arsenal 2, Tottenham 2. What were your thoughts on the game, Monish?
So before the game, I had picked Tottenham to actually spring a surprise on Arsenal. They were looking good. Arsenal were probably the more preferred team for most other people, but it seems that Ange Postecoglou has really changed the energy in the Tottenham dressing room. And James Maddison, what a player! He has just come in and completely changed the way Tottenham play. I mean, he's so central to things that work for them. About the game, I think the first half Arsenal really gained the upper hand. Uh, they pressed Tottenham, and Tottenham actually gave the ball cheaply many a times. Gabriel Jesus has not did not capitalize on a couple of very easy chances which he definitely should have. And Declan Rice actually was central to things. In fact, because of his positioning, James Maddison too had to come back to pick up the ball, and he gave it up cheaply once as well. So the first half was all Arsenal except for the goal. Christian Romero obviously culpable for the first goal because I mean he tried to block the shot without his hand and that went in. The second
Yeah.
goal, about the penalty, I honestly think it is a penalty. My only grouse with it would be that I think there should be some consistency with it. I mean, being a Manchester United fan, I know that this has happened against Manchester United was not given. I'm pretty sure there are many other games where it was not given, whether it be against or for whichever team. This needs to be some consistency with penalties, especially with the way it's being given recently. So obviously the Spurs fans would have questions asking why it was not given. And I think in one of the shows they asked an ex-Premier League referee the reason for whatever the penalty issue being there, and he completely just mentioned that this should have been given, but there is no consistency
Yeah, the
about
consistency
the
point is definitely lacking.
yeah.
I think it was a really good game, to be honest, because it was a great watch for the neutral, especially the fact that Spurs sort of hit back very quickly after the Arsenal goals made it really entertaining to watch. And I think Spurs could have actually nicked it in the end. Pedro Porro, if he had put in a decent cross, it was a tap in for Son at the end. So Spurs could have nicked it. I suggested that Arsenal is probably going to win it. That did not come true. Arsenal suffering from injuries, massively suffering from injuries, I think. Playing Jesus on the left when Trossard and Martinelli were both out, I think hampered them. Nketiah was lucky to not be sent off. I think that should have been a proper red card. That was completely out of control. He was completely out of control in going into that challenge. I don't know if there is a tackle that was more worthy of a red card than that one. So I think he should have been sent off. What were your thoughts on Nketiah's tackle, Munish?
Nketiah's tackle, I have seen lesser tackles being given. I have seen lesser tackles being given even in the same
Yeah,
game week, which we'll
exactly.
come to later. So Nketiah, I think that should have been seen at more harshly. I think the Spurs players, although the goalkeeper just jumped down and make a meal of it, but the players weren't protesting as vociferously. That maybe plays a role, especially so that maybe added to it. But he should have ideally been out, or even if it's a yellow card, then probably there were lesser tackles that shouldn't have been red carded during the same game week. About the Spurs chances, yes, they had quite a few chances. Ange finally, I think, removed some of his attacking players and then decided to save the lead. Uh, so this is what I was talking about at the beginning. I don't think Arsenal really has a chance because if they lose a couple of their players in key positions, they don't have the backup to actually play or to change their style.
Yeah, but
Manchester City
I do
lost their
feel
most
that's
important player in Kevin De
I
Bruyne, and
agree,
they
but I
managed.
do feel their injury crisis is a bit more than what it usually is for many clubs. So, for example, on the left-hand side, they have Trossard and Martinelli who can play that role. Having both of them injured is really unfortunate. And in the middle, they have Declan Rice and Partey who can play in that centre midfield role. And Jorginho is the third choice as centre midfielder, and having both of them out is again quite unfortunate. So in two key positions, having four players out is not the sort of injury
It's
run you'd expect for most teams. So perhaps they'll come out of that.
it's true, but I think a champion team would actually get over this injury run and manage to do it. And with Jorginho, you play a different style, and he should have kept the ball better. He was culpable for the
Oh yeah,
second goal
that's
massively. It was all his mistake.
absolutely his mistake,
So if you see that
100%.
Arsenal is not able to adapt to these changes as easily, that's what I said. Manchester City can change their style whenever and wherever. They may lose Rodri, they may lose Kevin De Bruyne, and still they win. And these are the most important players. Okay.
Let's see though. Rodri usually plays pretty much every match, but he's stupidly got himself red carded. So
Yes.
perhaps that's going to be a big problem for Man City going on for the next. Man City face Arsenal in one of the games that Rodri is banned for. So perhaps that will show the true strength of Man
So,
City as
so,
well.
so let's move on to Man City's next opponents, Newcastle United. Deepak wearing the jersey, wearing the colors proudly, very happy with the 8-0 win. So
Absolutely, that was a thumping and a half for Sheffield United. It was great to see. It's been so long since Newcastle. Some teams we do some teams of five, but eight is. I think the last time it happened was Shearer scored 5 goals against Sheffield United's neighbours, actually Sheffield Wednesday.
Wednesday,
But
yes.
this was great goal. I think the most important part of that win was because we bounced back from a European trip when everybody was like, "Oh, these guys are going to Champions League, travel to Europe, coming back, not being able to train is going to hamper them." And if we had struggled in that game, that would have sent a message that anytime we play in Europe, we are going to be struggling in the league, and teams would have used that as an incentive to play against us. But we came back from Europe, a tough fixture at San Siro where we put in a defensive performance. We didn't really do much offensively, but came back from San Siro with a gruesome defensive performance and then smashed Sheffield United out of the park. I think it was a really good performance. Really happy to see that. What were your thoughts on it, Manish?
So just to annoy Newcastle United fans, I say that their handball team won 2-0 and football team won 6-0. But nothing taken. Newcastle definitely deserved the win. More importantly, because they never stopped scoring. They never said enough, okay, we won 5-0 and sat back. They just went for it. They went for the kill and everybody just got in a chance. It was a
Yeah,
fantastic performance. The first goal, I mean, just being the devil's advocate here, I know the legality and all of those other things, but I don't think, if not even for Newcastle, if it was for anyone else, I don't think it was particularly fair.
being
The
completely
rule
honest with
needs
you,
to
I thought
change.
no, being
The rule
completely
needs to
honest,
change.
I thought
If
it would be
that's,
ruled out. But
yeah,
the rule
because
has changed just this season because last season, if that happened, that would have been ruled out. The reason
no,
why it
I'm
changed was people protested accidental handballs happening in the lead up to a goal being looked at too vociferously and then being ruled out. So then they came out with this rule this season that accidental handballs in the lead up to a goal, unless it's from the goal scorer themselves, will not be ruled out for that reason. And honestly, Gordon's was far more on the other side of the law. Perhaps they should have used some sort of
see
judgment. I agree with
it
you, but
as I'll tell you what it was. It clearly gave an unfair advantage. The question is that did it give him an advantage? It did. The ball coming down at that moment, him being able to cross, the ball was going out possibly or not. We are not really sure, but it stayed in. It was on the line at that moment. So looking at all of those things, it gave him an unfair advantage. And anything that gives a player an unfair advantage, accidental or not, touched his leg and touched his hand. And I mean, uh,
yeah, no, I agree with you.
if
It
you see
probably
if
did.
if the same thing happened with the defender, it would have been given as a penalty.
No,
Case in
I
point, I
completely.
think the game against Luton Town when they were awarded a penalty, was it against West Ham? I think so. This is definitely unfair because if a defender does it, it's a penalty. If
Again,
a
Monish,
strike,
I completely agree with you.
yeah,
So I
I'm no,
don't
I'm
think
just
there's
telling.
any
So
debate
I'm
in
not.
that.
I'm talking
But
about, yeah. The
um,
clearly the point is this would have been given. Secondly, even the second goal, I'm not really sure if before that goal when the corner was given, I think it touched Newcastle
listen,
United
if you
players.
want to roll out every single goal, I don't really
If
care.
you No, I mean they deserve to
Hopefully,
win.
Manchester United will someday score some goals, and you'll be happy rather than trying to be jealous with other teams scoring.
No,
So,
I'm not talking
uh,
about that. What I'm saying is those two goals, if these two handballs happen with the defensive team, it would have been given as penalties.
the
And
second
that
goal
has
was
happened.
not even a
No,
handball. I don't know where the
I'm not
handball is
sure.
coming from.
I'm not sure,
It
but
was
it
a
looked like
foul on Burn, and we required a penalty for
the
anything. Like, I don't
which
know where.
one? When was it the
the
foul
first
on
second
Burnley.
goal. The second
The
goal was
Almiron shot, I think, touched a player. Your player deflected off his hand, and
s-
the goalkeeper had to just
Shar
push it
had his
out.
hands like this. What should
Yeah.
he have been done? Chop the hands
No, no,
off?
it wasn't like this. It was here. Yeah, it was. It wasn't too
It
far,
was
but
against towards his body. When
it was
has that
elbowed
ever been
out.
handball in football? Like,
That's what. But that's been
w-
given this
w-
season. That's what
when
I'm
has
trying to say.
that does never have, if your hand is against your
So
chest, you can't chop it off. That's never
no,
been
it
given.
was not against his chest. It was on the
Also, if
side anyway. So
honestly, instead
second
of
goal,
lauding
I wouldn't.
Newcastle's performance, if you're trying to nitpick some
I'm
reason why
nitpicking.
some goal
No,
should be
because
disallowed, then
I'm
I don't
talking
really
only
have
about the
anything to say.
goals per se when they were given. But Newcastle really showed that they are a class apart this season. The more important thing is the question was, would they be a contender for top four? So the last few performances, they didn't really show that. I mean, the metal wasn't there. This performance, like you mentioned, after the Milan game, and might I say, I think Newcastle could have even tried to score and try to win against Milan. I know it's a big ask, but maybe they could have because they really played well in that game as well. I went back and watched the game. So after that game, coming in and scoring the 6 goals, I have nothing to take away from them. I really think they stamped
You
their
already
authority, and
downgraded it into 6 goals.
yeah, 8 goals. Fine, 8 goals. I mean, I like to pull your leg, about the other 2 goals. But I think the second goal should have been given. In fact, I think the second goal was the best goal of the lot. The particular header that took place there. Uh, just the first goal, I had a grouse because it was the first goal.
Yeah, no, I agree with people
And
who had a
and and,
problem with
and
the
I
first
think,
goal, but
and not just me having a problem. I
honestly,
think I think it
uh,
took a sheen off
if
Newcastle United's performance. If that
oh
had not been
come
given,
on,
you could have scored another.
that's
No, you could have scored another 2 goals, and
uh,
people would have nothing to talk about.
in no way does it take. I don't think anybody's talking about that goal at all because even Sheffield United manager
Sheffield
doesn't have a
United.
complaint about it
I know he doesn't
because he's
because it was
like,
an 8-0 win. If you start
yeah, exactly.
crying
So
about it, sounds
that's what
bad.
you're doing though. But if you are having an 8-0 win and then talking
No,
about
because
the one goal, which was
that was the first goal. It was an important goal, and the fact is still that in an important game, will this be given? If this was Arsenal and Tottenham, what would have
again,
happened?
it
That's the
doesn't
question.
matter. We won 8-0. We
Yeah,
squashed
yeah.
them to
No,
bits.
I'm
We
not
could have
talking
won double
nothing taken from
digits if
Newcastle.
we had actually taken all our chances.
I
Uh,
think you took quite a few chances. That's what I'm
yeah,
trying to
we took
say. You didn't
most
leave.
of our chances, but if we had taken more, we could have. So it was such a demolition. And then if you
It
had to
was a
nitpick about
demolition, and
that
I
goal,
think after the fifth goal, they just completely gave up. In fact, it was sad to see Sheffield United. I think that team is going to get relegated.
yeah, I do have to give it
Mm,
up for Sheffield United fans. Many of them stayed back till the final whistle
yeah, yeah,
despite that
most of them.
demolition. And
Yes,
yeah, most of
I
them, in
don't
fact.
think most Premier League club fans would have done the same.
I agree with you. Most
Moving
people would
on
have
to
gotten
relegation
pissed off.
threatened clubs, Burnley
Can I just give a
versus.
shout out for Anthony Gordon, though?
Oh
Most people
yes,
thought he'll be a flop. What a player. He's turning
I
out to be incredible.
I completely agree. I think he actually changed the game. He came in as a
Yeah,
substitute, and
yeah.
until he came in, I know you will disagree, but Sheffield also had a couple of chances, and he
No,
came
I
in and
agree.
took the
So
game
until
by
he came in, it was looking a very even game. And
yeah.
he
It,
just,
it it
oh
was
my
it was
God.
looking like there were goals in this game, but it also looked like Newcastle had chances to score, but Sheffield also had chances to score because they were playing attacking. They were really working hard. They ran their socks off for the first 20 minutes. But
Yeah,
after the third goal, I think the second half they were just shambles.
yeah.
They were just a
Gordon
shambles.
getting Golden Boy at the Euros, I think really boosted his morale and is showing in his performance now. As you said, we'll move on to the second game, the third game actually, Monish. Chelsea
Yes,
nil, Aston Villa 1. Chelsea keep losing. Is this the end or the beginning of the end for Pochettino?
I think the if you see the game, there was just one glaring problem with this Chelsea team. Uh, they don't have goals in them. You listen to the
Yeah.
game in Chelsea commentary. You talk to you check out anyone who comments on Chelsea. They just don't believe Chelsea is gonna score goals, and that's a fact. They spent 150 million odd
1 billion.
on. No, I'm saying they spent
Oh
150
yeah,
million
in
odd on one
attackers.
particular position. No, on the central midfielders,
Yeah,
on
yeah.
basically players who can beat the press, who are also being culpable for a lot of their goals. Uh, but on the other hand, they don't seem to have really sorted out their striking department. Sterling was scoring a couple of goals at the beginning, but uh, and also more importantly in that game, I don't think, like I mentioned, that penalty was a soft penalty. I didn't see enough over there for it to be changed from a yellow card to a red card. I know VAR called
You
him
mean
back,
the
and
red
so
card was soft, not the
sorry,
penalty?
red card, not the penalty. The red card was definitely soft. Disasi
Yeah,
got a bit of the ball, and it never
Gusto,
looked that.
Gusto.
Gusto was the one, is it?
Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah,
yeah, he got a bit
got a bit
too
of the
eager,
ball.
and he probably
It wasn't
mistimed the tackle,
malicious.
but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, compared to the Nketiah one, especially as we mentioned earlier this
Nketiah,
episode.
I think the reason again was that because this was not in a important position. It was in the other end of the pitch, so maybe they didn't give it. But just comparing it, that if you
Yeah,
look at Gusto's tackle, maybe Nketiah's was a bit more malicious because he was definitely
exactly.
not going to reach the ball.
No, he was
Uh,
so late, and he was taking a lot of force into that tackle. Whereas compared to
yes,
this was slightly mistimed, I
it was more
feel.
mistimed than anything else. And yeah, but what do you think about Chelsea?
Yeah, I think it's really worrying, to be honest. They've really not found a sort of way to work together, and it's most apparent at the striker position, as you said. Nicholas Jackson, when saw him in preseason, I thought he'll be the next Didier Drogba. He was just smashing goals in left, right, and center. But you realize the difference between preseason and actual Premier League games now. He is just struggling to score, and I think with every passing game that he does not score, his confidence drops further, and it's just a vicious cycle. Mudryk, though, looks a bit more brighter than before, and
I don't think he's going to really. Uh, I don't know. I mean, he would surprise me if he really comes out as being good. In fact, I think Jackson is way better. Apart from
yeah,
the fact that he's not scoring goals, he's getting in the right positions, he's attacking the ball, he's beating players. He just doesn't seem to be having that finishing. Also, seems to be a confidence problem now. But
yeah.
Mudryk,
in
he's just
in
nitpicking
Pochettino's
because
defense, I guess they are underperforming their XG massively, and
exactly
as a
the
coach, you can only create XG. You have to rely on the strikers to put the
so
ball in the back of the net.
so
So,
Chelsea, I believe, is the team with the worst XG. It's -6 or something.
worst underperforming XG.
Yeah, worst
Yeah,
underperforming XG. They scored 5 goals. They were supposed to score 11.
yeah.
They are, most of the other teams are even. Newcastle United and the others is also, I think, they're even, or maybe one more. Manchester United also is underperforming by two or three. Apart from Chelsea, the other team that's underperforming massively, if I'm not wrong, is Everton.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah,
I
Everton are
don't remember the numbers.
underperforming their XG quite massively
Yeah, but
as
Chelsea,
well.
this is the
But
problem. So I think
the
they need to just get a win, like you said, a
yeah,
scrappy win.
they've got a very tough set of games coming up. So good luck to them. Talking about teams who have struggled to score, but did win over the weekend. Manchester United, was it a good feeling to get a win under the belt, Munish?
So overall about that game, I think now that we're recording it after another game, they showed they played a bit better against Crystal Palace. But about the game against Burnley, United, sometimes you just need to win and everything has to work out for you. The other team should miss a few sitters. Your goalkeeper and someone else has to have some last-ditch tackles, and you need a well-taken goal. United had all of that.
Yeah,
Overall, that team. Again in that game they United, as you noticed, Regulon also was sick, but he played till 60 odd minutes. Then they got Amrabat in, then Varane came in. I mean, United were playing with a makeshift defense. John Evans again, I was mentioning that I hope to never see him in a United shirt again because he's past it. But surprisingly he surprised me. But I think the also one more reason that he managed to play decently well was were two things. Lindelof was next to him, a bit more mobile, and there was help from up front, in the sense that the
yeah,
midfield was not overrun because of this young kid called Hannibal Magebury. So having him in the center attacking midfield role, him coming back multiple times to help out in midfield,
yeah.
really, especially covering in Rashford's area,
Yeah,
helped a
he
lot.
seems to have given your team a big boost coming in, and he's playing without fear. He's playing without any pressure by the looks of it, and he's enjoying his football. I was slightly unsure
So
of how much he celebrated his first goal, but it's his first goal for Manchester United. You should celebrate it, and he's playing with a lot of passion. So I think
So
big
he's
stuff to come.
already played, like he's not a very he's 20, but he's not a greenhorn. He's, I think, capped 23 times for Tunisia. So considering all of that, he's really a player in the making.
Yep.
Amrabat, new performance, quite interesting. I mean, nothing much to say about that. He did his job, he did it well, and I think him and Casemiro will help. So overall,
Yep.
the Bruno Fernandes finish again, fantastic shot.
Yep.
Johnny Evans
Brilliant
was a good
finish.
cross, but the finish was just out of this world. I'm just worried about Rashford. He didn't pick up the player for the pass, and I mean, just mentioning that when Cristiano came as well, he struggled. He seems to struggle when he's supposed to look for at his striker and try to pass the ball, which he did
Yep.
when Cristiano came, and he kept passing. First two times he never passed. I think he was yelled at, and then finally when he passed the ball, it seemed like this. He was two-minded when he tried to pass the ball, so that was the problem. That's it about United. Anything else, Deepak?
I agree. You guys just needed a win under your belt, and even if it's ugly win, it's a win nonetheless, and it's 3 points. So, good win for Manchester United.
Shout out to Burnley. They have a lot of young, good players, and I think they are probably the only team among the teams that have been promoted that might beat the drop. We
Yep.
can carry on. Yeah.
I agree with you. Burnley do seem to be a bit more pragmatic after the first few games, so perhaps that will go into the season, and they might be one of the only three teams to beat the drop. Not looking good for the three bottom teams, though. The three teams promoted to the Premier League, 16 games, 0 wins. Let's hope for their futures to improve, but not against our teams. And Monish, what are you looking forward to over the
I'm
next week?
looking forward to basically for Manchester United. Hopefully, some more players come back and see some better football from them. Also, I'm looking forward to Manchester City versus Newcastle, the replay, and see what's going on over there. I think it's going to be played in a few minutes.
Yes.
That's it.
Looking forward to that game. All right. So like, share, and subscribe, everybody. And thank you for watching. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.